It is time to pick up a shovel, plant some seeds, grab some dirt, and water the plants. Today is National Gardening Day, and who else better to go than our resident gardener, Anthony Carpino. He's celebrating it big time. He loves his backyard,
Yes,
I'll tell you that. And he is out at Nurseries Caroliniana. Good morning, Anthony.
Well, good morning, guys. Yeah, it is National Gardening Day. We're out here, Exit 5 in North Augusta. I have Mr. Gerald Stevens with me this morning. We're at Nurseries Caroliniana right now. And Gerald, you guys have a lot of different options here.
Right. We have one of the largest selection of different plants in the United States. We have most of the outdoor plants, but then we also have a lot of perennials and annuals too. And we are careful to select plants that we know will do in our area. A lot of people come down from up north and they're trying to plant stuff that really won't do here because it's not cold enough or long enough. We have a thing called cold hours, which is how long it's cold below 45 degrees. We have 600 to 800 here, and so we have to have the select plants that'll do in that area. People want lilacs, and there's one or two that will do here. They want peonies, there's one or two that'll do here, but not the full line because it's not cold long enough.
Right. And you know, there's different types of plants. They're going to require different amounts of sunlight and different types of soil, depending if you're planting them in the ground or in a pot. Why don't you say we go outside and we'll give a good little demo for everybody. The best way to do that. Does that sound good?
Amen.
All right.
Good.
All right, Gerald, so we're out here outside now. We're going to do a couple little demonstrations for folks. We talked about some really good tips before. Let's kind of put all those into play here. Let's start us off. Let's go to the little rose bush right here.
Okay, there's 2 steps to a green thumb. Now you can do all the compost, fertilizer, lime, soil mixes and all that. That's fine. But to get it to live, there's 2 steps. Number 1 is plant it shallow with the top of the dirt showing when you finish. Don't plant it up to the neck, leave the shoulder showing.
Get a little bit of room for them.
Right. The top dirt in there breathes air, and when you cover it up, it smothers it. And some things will pull through it, but some things won't. And so you try to do that. Now, the second rule is water. Okay, this time of year, we're saying water every day for 8 weeks, but we want a certain amount of water. Like in clay soil, if you put a gallon of water on a plant like this, it would be sitting in water the next day, and you'd be just putting water on top of water.
Exactly.
But if you do it according to the size of the container, we call this a 2 gallon. That's really not quite a 2. So we use like a third of that. So like a half gallon or a quart and a half of water every day for 8 weeks. Well, see, it can drink that amount up. Whereas if you put too much, it can, or if you don't put enough. Some people throw the hose out there and let it run, and that'll drown everything, especially in clay. Now in sand it wouldn't, but then see, by the next day, if it's in sand, it's already dry. So that's why you water it every day for 8 weeks. So planting shallow and planting and watering correctly is going to make you have a green thumb.
There we go. We like to keep these guys nice and green throughout the year.
Exactly. So
right,
I'm going to demonstrate.
Go ahead. Yeah, let's go.
I'm going to demonstrate how we do that. Now we're going to picture this as the ground, not a pot.
Because there is a difference between planting it in a pot versus going in the ground.
It is different. But we're going to act like this is in the ground. So I'm going to dig a hole about, don't dig any deeper than you need it. All people say, well, I'll dig a deep hole. No, don't do that.
And that's what you kind of saying before. You don't want to plant it too deep. You want it to be at the shoulder, so a little bit sticking up out of the ground.
Right. So this little rose is going to bite. But we want to leave the top showing. In other words, the top of that root ball breathes air, and when we cover it up, it smothers it. So we want to leave the top of that showing. Now you can put mulch over that, or you can put pine straw, whatever, over it, but don't put it too thick. A couple of inches is probably all you need. And then, but you see it's still level. Now the only thing we say you can plant deep is a tomato plant.
Okay.
Now you can plant a tomato plant deep, and there's probably a lot of other herbaceous plants you can do that. But we'll take this tomato and we'll break off the bottom limbs and plant it that deep.
So you can't go that deep.
Because it'll reroot all out in there.
Yeah.
Whereas a tree or a shrub won't do that.
Exactly.
So we want to put, on this plant, we want to put about a gallon, or I mean not a gallon, it's a 2 gallon, so we probably put a couple of quarts of water on it
Yeah,
every
good
day
healthy
for 8
watering.
weeks.
Yep.
Every day for 8 weeks.
Very
Now
good.
sprinklers will do it, but if you try to water it enough, you'll drown everything else around it. So if you're normally watering with a sprinkler, like every 2 days or something like that, you don't have to hand water that day, but the next day you do need to hand water, because the hand watering is more important than the sprinklers
Gotcha.
until
All
it's
right.
established.
There we go. So we got this guy in here a little bit. You want to make sure he's kind of stuck up out of the ground just a little bit there, kind of compress the soil around a little bit more. Still make sure he can breathe. And of course, you want to make sure you're giving it a lot of water, especially over the next 5 to 8 weeks there. Make sure it stays nice and healthy. Sunlight is going to be another kind of key factor with this. You want to make sure you're planting certain plants
That's
throughout
right.
the yard where it's going to be staying
The
healthy.
proper sunlight.
Proper sun.
And we try to emphasize that when most of the plants in this area are for full sun. The plants down in there is usually for shade, or can take either sun or shade.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of variety there. But knowing where your sun is extremely important, as you found out, didn't you?
Oh yeah, no. So you guys know me. I love doing everything in the yard, and I've planted a whole bunch of stuff early, and there was no leaves on any of the trees, so I thought it was full sun. And then I learned in the summer that actually no, it's full shade. So had to move things around. Certain things died, but we learned from our mistakes there. Gerald, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Loved all the tips, guys. If you're planting this summer, we'd love to see your pictures. Make sure to send that in, and love to see how your gardens come up. But for now, we'll send things back over to you guys in the studio.
All right, appreciate it, Anthony. That was a lot to take in.
Very informative, is it not?
Yes.
Probably need to go back and revisit that every so often.
Gerald
There's a
is
lot of steps.
he's a smart man over
No,
there.
he knows a lot, and this weekend we should be seeing a lot of sun. So if you are going to plant, hopefully that is a good sign to do so.